everyone. This is Rogerio from Youth Reference Hub Initiative. And today we're going to be hosting Melene Rossouw from South Africa. Is a young African leader that's doing a lot of good jobs towards the empowerment of women and human rights and more than it. But I will leave Melene Rossouw to talk by herself now. Melene, welcome to Inspiration Space of Youth Reference Hub.
Thank you very much, Rogerio, for having me. You know, I'm a huge fan of you. So to be on your platform is an immense honor. You know, if I didn't meet you last year at the presidential precinct in Virginia, I would not have had the opportunity to ever meet someone like you. So I'm very grateful not only for the fact that we are friends, but we are also colleagues, you know, trying to build a better Africa together. So thank you very much for having me on your platform today.
Good. So can you briefly tell us what do you do for a living?
Okay, so I started off, you know, as an attorney. I qualified, I think, in 2009. So, I mean, it was never necessarily the plan. It wasn't the idea that I wanted to be a lawyer, but I just thought, okay, that would be one way of getting to where I wanted to be. And initially I thought, especially in high school, okay, maybe politics would be the way that I want to go, maybe become an ambassador. And I saw, you know, the legal profession as one of the ways to get there. I then studied law. I did my master's degree as well, and then I specialized in the area of constitutional law, and that is really where my passion for human rights started. So I worked in the legal profession for a few years. I was honored to have worked as a researcher in the highest court in South Africa, which is the Constitutional Court. And there I worked with Justice Sachs, who really opened up my mind about the Constitution, about human rights. And it was after that when I decided, okay, I'm going to write my thesis on something pertaining to human rights. And that was the issue of public participation. You know, in government processes, in public life. Why are people not participating? Is the spaces, you know, not open enough for people to engage? From there, I moved into to government. I served as a special advisor to a minister. I worked in the presidency as a cabinet committee secretary. So for 3 to 5 years, I worked in the national government space. And I think that experience, you know, both good and bad, really solidified my understanding about democracy in South Africa and how it works. And from there, I started my NGO, the Women Lead Movement, and I'm not looking back, because I think that I found my place and my purpose and my passion in life. And the beauty of it is that I'm bringing sort of my political knowledge and my legal knowledge, and I'm putting it together and serving my community through that. So you can say that I'm an attorney, but I'm currently a human rights and gender rights activist. I'm a speaker, I'm a moderator, I'm a facilitator, I'm a researcher, I'm a writer. I do everything because, I mean, these are my passions and these are the things that I feel I am reasonably okay in, you know, so I'm working in those kind of spaces.
Wow, so very busy schedule, huh? Very busy schedule. Okay, yeah, Melene. So can you tell us what motivates you to start your own organizations? I mean, Women Lead Movement. Why Women Lead Movement? What's the motivation that push you to start this organization?
That's an excellent question, Rogerio. You know, Rogerio, not only in South Africa, but I think across Africa, there was just this increase in gender discrimination, or just this, there was always embedded gender discrimination, but it started to increase a bit more. There was increase in violence against women. There was an increase in the intolerance amongst community members, amongst themselves. Just this apathy of people not wanting to vote, people not wanting to be involved in issues that is affecting their community, you know. And then while this is happening, we see a lack of accountability and transparency by government. We see corruption going through the roof. It was just a chaotic time. Protests rising, and it's violent protests every single day. I mean, South Africa is known as the protest capital of the world. And for me at that stage, I thought, I need to use my experience and my educational background, and I need to, you know, develop programs for community members to basically combat the low levels of public participation, because I believe that I felt that our people were starting to relinquish their power, and ordinary citizens right across Africa do not realize the power that they have as citizens to shape the society that they want to live in, to shape the democracy that they want to see. And I wanted to empower them, but I couldn't understand why they were not interested in being part in political processes and being part in community activities, etc. Then I realized that in South Africa we have a constitution, and the Foundation for Human Rights found that only in 26 years since our democracy, or 26 years into our democracy, only 49% of people know about the constitution. And they know about the rights in the constitution and, all the sections in the constitution, etc. 51% of our population are not aware about what the constitution entails, what democracy is about. And so I thought, okay, so this is definitely an area where I want to educate the communities on. What are the principles of democracy? What are the things that you need as an ordinary citizen need to look out for? What are the kind of processes that you can get involved in to have your opinion shared? It could be a community dialogue, it could be just normal community meetings, it could be engagements with their ward councillors, their politicians, because we don't see the politicians during that 5-year period. We only see them when they come there for elections and they're wanting the vote. But after that, we don't see them. So how do we hold these people accountable? And I felt that our people was at almost like at the back step, because we were not empowered in terms of understanding how government works or how democracy works or what rights in the constitution they have and that they can enforce and that they can realize. And that was genuinely the space that I initially entered into. When I got in there as well, so we started off with human rights education and democratic processes, we realized that there was another massive issue that is plaguing not only South Africa, not African continent, but across the globe. And that was the issue of gender inequality, and just gender inequality within the political spaces. It's gender inequality in education, in health, in the economy, in social life, in public life in general. And we wanted to rectify that, because currently, as it stands, the World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report says we are 100 years on average away from achieving gender parity, which is unacceptable. In some countries, we've seen progress with regards to gender equality, and in the next year, we see that same country regressing. How is that possible? When are we ever going to achieve gender parity if we do not have the political will, to ensure that we achieve gender equality within our lifetime? So for me, that was the motivation, to get more women into the political spaces, whether at local government, provincial or national government, to get more women actively involved in communities. Because I genuinely believe that most of the issues that we are facing in society are not necessarily issues that the government can solve, but I believe that the power to solve those issues lies in the hands of the people in that community. And so we need to empower those people to be able to find solutions to these issues plaguing them in their community. And that is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Wow, Melene. I'm very happy to know all this background that's motivated you to start your own NGO. That's very cool. What I want to know now is what are the great milestones that you are proud of since you started the women lead movement?
Well, I don't even know where to start, Rogelio.
Or just 4, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm sure because we both attended the presidential precinct, and Unzanyana from Madagascar.
Yeah.
Unzara, since we met last year in Virginia in the States, we were in discussions about starting a woman lead movement office in Madagascar. And April 2020 was the year that we signed the first host agreement, where we established this organization outside of the borders of South Africa. That is a massive, massive milestone. And again, it's about creating this Pan-African movement, where we want to expand the woman-led movement in Namibia, in Zambia, Angola, Mozambique, Ghana, Rwanda, all over the African continent.
Yeah.
Earlier I spoke to you about that. It's not about competition. We need to start as young leaders. We need to start seeing each other as allies. And we need to realize that the issues that is faced in South Africa are exactly the same issues that is faced in other parts of the continent as well. Ghana or Mozambique is not necessarily facing a particular issue in their own little box. We're all facing the same kind of issues on different levels though. And gender inequality and a lack of active and participatory citizens, that's an African problem across the continent. And so that was obviously a massive achievement, because now we can expand the programs that we have in South Africa and conduct these programs also in Madagascar. So that was a big win. Over the last 2 years in particular, we've reached more than 2,000 women, girls and boys, both in schools and communities through our programs. And our programs have just expanded. We started off with, I think, 3 or 4 modules. Now we have 19 modules that we are going through now, that we've developed and that we are ready to implement within our communities. It touches on human rights, it touches on legislation, because as a lawyer and as someone that grew up in a very disadvantaged community, I saw how access to justice was a massive problem. Why? Because of money. Because of money, people couldn't afford lawyers to advise them about the law, about procedures that they need to undergo. And that is part of our curriculum, where we go into communities and we educate them about various pieces of legislation and procedures. So that was a big milestone as well. Also, we've participated, we're such a young organization and there are so many brilliant human rights organizations across the continent, but we have participated in 3 global campaigns, with the one global campaign, and I know you're a huge fan of one as well.
Yeah, this one global campaign, I like too much this campaign. I still have to share the games to me. Yeah.
That is so cool. So we were part of the One Global campaigns, gender equality campaigns. I was one of the spokespeople for an open letter to world leaders saying, we've had enough. We need actions now, And then they produced the Yours in Power documentary that I will also share with you, that you can also share with your viewers. And then recently, I was part of the Pass the Mic campaign on a global response for the COVID-19 pandemic. What needs to be done. And that is besides all the recognition from international and regional human rights organizations. It has just been an incredible, fulfilling journey. Very hard though, Rogerio. Very tough, but more fulfilling than tough.
That's really cool. So you're doing a very good job in South Africa and, in Africa as a whole. And congratulations to achieve your great milestone, to have an office outside of South Africa. That's a great milestone. So Melene, as a young leader, as an African young leader, which challenges you face in this special area of women when you started and in the process as well?
I think a problem for many people that operate non-profit organizations is funding. Funding has really been a massive challenge, and I'm always the eternal optimistic and say, funding is not important. It's quite important, because if you don't have the funding, you can't reach as many people as you would want to. So that was really a massive challenge. And right in the beginning of the organization, when we started this, I invested all my savings. When I left my sort of formal career, I invested all my money into setting up this organization, to legitimize the organization so that we can apply for funding. We have been successful in terms of our funding applications, but more can be done. I just feel that the NGO space generally is very saturated. in South Africa, we have more than 200,000 NGOs.
Wow.
And some of them are also operating within the GBB, gender equality, human rights space, and everyone is competing for the same money. So that is indeed a challenge. So we are looking at other innovative ways to generate money. Through creating our own merchandise, branding, merchandising stuff that we're going to start selling to at least generate some profit. There's been a lot of people that has given donations, private people that has been, investing in Women Lead Movement because they believe in the vision and they believe in the work that we do. But funding is a challenge. And I would urge everyone that operates NGOs to also look at alternatives besides just applying for funding, because even during the COVID period now, I'm telling you now, Rogerio, there are so many NGOs that had to close their doors because there was just no money. So funding was indeed a challenge. Then with regards to building relationships, one thing that I was part of the Obama Leaders Africa program as well.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it was President Obama that said that, but I think it was he that said we shouldn't isolate the government, because NGOs tend to isolate the government and make them the enemies, like they the enemies and we here and this. What he basically told us is that we need to balance, because we also need the government to work with us. We don't want to isolate the government because they still have a mandate because they were elected into office. So it is really creating a sort of alliance, you as your NGO, but staying firm to your vision and your principles and your values in your organization, but working hand in hand with private sector and working hand in hand with the government as well. Because you don't isolate the government when you want to, for example, get into the communities. We know what they can do. They can become gatekeepers. They can keep you out of a community. And so just because of the fact that you don't like them and you speak out against them, and I have no issues, because that is the way it should be. We should speak out when there are human rights violations that's being perpetrated. But we also need to bring the government on board and sometimes with humility, show them how things should be done. So for me, one of the challenges, but now it's becoming a little bit better, is building those relationships with the private sector, with other NGOs, with the government, because we all need each other in order to succeed in what we are busy with. So initially that was a challenge, but now it's much better. And then lastly, also a big challenge was changing the mindsets of our people. It's not an easy thing. When you have been subjected to discrimination and violation and abuse and discrimination for so long, you tend not to trust people. So now this NGO comes in and they want to educate. You don't know this NGO from a bar of soap. So it was really for us to build rapport with the people that we wanted to empower. We had to build a trust relationship with those people and show them that we're non-threatening. We're not there to harm them. We are there to empower them. And I think that is something that even government misses as well. People are very fragile. And we need to, if we want to work in communities, for example, we need to take time to get to know the community. To get to know, the way they do things, their values and how they operate. It's only then that they will start trusting you. And once people start trusting you as an individual, they'll start trusting your vision, they'll start trusting your work, and they'll follow and they'll support. And that is really, some of the used to be challenges, but not anymore, because I think we've learned a lot over the last few years.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Melene, for sharing this great, it can be kind of tips for anyone who wants to start also in this path. And you're giving us a very good pictures on the main challenges that anyone can face if he wants to start his own NGO or a campaign, whatever it is, to support people. Yes. So, Melene, we know that because of this great work that I've been doing in your community in Africa, so you've been nominated for, it is GCI, I don't know how to pronounce it, I think it's a GCI 10 Outstanding Young Person of the World Award. Briefly, can you say what is this and how people can support you on this?
Thanks so much, Rogerio. Yes, so a week ago, I got an email notification saying that I was nominated for the JCI Top Outstanding Young Person of the World Award. That is just insane. I still can't believe it. So I'm currently in the top 20, and the competition ends on the 22nd of June. And I will give you the link as well. Maybe you can share the link with the post as well. Yeah. So there's a voting process that you have to go. You click on the link. You look for my photo, you'll see my face there. You click on my photo, you'll see underneath my picture there's a like button. You click on the like, and that's a vote. So I'm very honored. I mean, I'm the only person, I think, I am the only person from South Africa that was nominated for that's currently in the top 20. But I do think there's another gentleman from Africa, I think he's in Benin, that is also part of the top 20. So we have two people, I think Syria also, Mid-East, but from Benin and South Africa, that's currently in the top 20. So I would really appreciate all the support from my African brothers and sisters, to bring it home, And as I told you earlier, Rogerio, if I do get in the top 20, in the top 10, because I'm already in the top 20, this is not going to be a win for South Africa. This is a win for all Black African people in Africa, because it will give us the platform to say, these are the kind of changes that we want to see. It will bring a lot of opportunities to influence, certain things. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I'm very honored and humbled by it. And thank you very much for mentioning that as well. I genuinely appreciate it.
I'm doing that because I really like the way you have been growing in your life, and you deserve it, as I told you before. And I really hope that people, after watching this video, they can put like in your profile. They will watch you. They will watch you, hopefully. So before we go, finish our conversation, I would like you to share 3 great lessons you've learned in your life as a leader, so that people can learn from.
Yeah. Okay, so I have many lessons, but I think the 3 that stood out the most for me, especially when I started my organization and building it to what it is now, is the first thing is your pursuit for high achievement. Because everyone is in pursuit of something. But in your pursuit for high achievement, you must know that it's going to cost you. There's going to be many sacrifices. It's going to test every inch of who you are as a human being. So you need to prepare yourself mentally for what is to come, and you must be willing to let go anything that is going to keep you behind for achieving that achievement. The second thing that I would like to talk about is the importance of selecting a good team. Sometimes we go for people that is very qualified, You look at the qualifications and, the experience, etc. And you think that this is a great person to have on your team. And sometimes it is. But in my experience, I've realized that is important, but it's coupled also with other characteristics. Is this person loyal? Do they have integrity? Do they share the same vision for the organization that you do? Are they equally committed to the organization, irrespective of when things go very well or things go very bad? Are they in the boat with you? Those are the kind of people that you need on your team when you start an organization, or when you just generally when you accept a very good job somewhere. Make sure that your team is balanced, not only highly intelligent, but of good character. That is very important. And the last one is, you need to have a lot of faith in your vision. You need to have deep-seated belief in what you do. Because there's going to come a time, and it's a fact, when the only thing that is going to keep you together is your belief in the vision. That's the only thing. Because there are going to be times when you will not have the money, when you will not see the successes, when you will see failure upon failure upon failure, and the only thing that is going to keep you together is your vision and the belief that you have in the work that you do. That is critical.
Thank you very much once again, Melene. As said Malcolm X once, that the future belongs to those who prepare for it today, and you're doing a great job to prepare the future of women in Africa, and not only in Africa, maybe worldwide. wish you all success in life and all the best.
I'm wishing you the best as well, Rogerio. You are an amazing, amazing leader. You're doing fantastic work in Mozambique and across the African continent. I saw you, jet setting there to Ethiopia and all these places, Rwanda, Uganda. I'm very proud of you as well. And I'm watching the space very closely because there's big things coming from you. Big things.
Thank you.